I'm Michael, representing Key Relocation, and we like immigration as well in the Nordics. As the sponsor of this workshop, I have the honor to present the first session, Talent Acquisition and Retention Strategies in Immigration. Please help me welcome the moderator of this session, Sophie King. I don't know. We didn't practice this part. And the speakers, Caroline, Jens, Arvinder, and Stefan.
Right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, beautiful panelists. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Joanna. So thanks, everybody. So we're here to talk about talent acquisition and retention strategies in the immigration industry. And when we were thinking about this as a group earlier, we were talking a lot about, we were talking a little bit about how our clients ask us to help them, our immigration clients ask us to help them because they need to acquire and keep the best talent that they can. And obviously that, for us as immigration experts, involves getting work permits. It involves getting work permits quickly. It involves thinking about the strategy for keeping those people long term. So how are they going to qualify for permanent residence? How are you going to keep renewing that with a painless and stress-free methodology, all of that kind of thing. So we spend our day-to-day lives thinking about and working with and partnering with our clients for the acquisition of talent on their behalf. But we ask ourselves, what about us? What about our businesses and our people and the strains and the hardships of every day in our own teams? So today we're going to be selfish for 45 minutes and talk about our businesses, our immigration practices or companies, and we're going to talk about what we do to hire the best people and to keep the best people and to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful. So first question, and actually I think we might go to a poll. We're trying to be interactive. So also if you guys have questions, I literally can't see you because the lights are utterly blinding, but Joanna's around. So if you do have a question or a comment or something to share, then please wave your hand and I think she'll find you and bring you a microphone. But we've got polls, so we're going to use Slido. I don't know how that works. I think I press this. There we go. So the first question is, so you have to scan the little QR code and it comes up with the Slido website. So the first question is, do you actually have difficulty recruiting in your organization? Yes or no? So we're going to have just a couple of moments for you guys to let us know, because you know, if you say the wrong thing, then everything we've prepared is going to be not helpful. So just think about that. I think that's a pretty strong yes, isn't it? Well, luckily, we have thought about this also. And so I would like to ask my panelists, I think we're going to start, Caroline, with you. Oh, and I forgot to do introductions. So before you start speaking, please introduce yourself and your business as well.
Hello, can you hear me? It's very weird with this mic. Sorry. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. My name is Caroline Troyat, very French name. Managing director of a French company called Mobility Compliance Group, known as France Immigration as well, which is the legal name, but it's the same company. We are the leading experts in France in immigration, social security, and posted workers formalities, doing it both inbound and outbound. And I've been working in this company for the past 18 years. Every time I say that, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. But I'm still enjoying and loving so much. I actually joined the company when it just started. I was the second employee, and I were 50 people in the company, mainly female employees, not surprisingly. I'd say, yeah, 85–90% of women. And average age is under 30 years old.
Whoa.
Which is very particular.
That's amazing.
We'll talk about it later. And yeah, actually, we've been, we have 40 experts in the team. So 40 experts in immigration, social security, and posted workers working on case files. So I think we're one of the biggest team in France. And actually, we've been working very hard on the well-being of our employees, which is the key of everything we do. We want to have happy employees and, of course, happy clients, but happy employees first, and that's the aim of what we do. The well-being is our real priority. And a few years ago, we asked ourselves, how can we create the dream company. So we've been working hard on this, and I can share with you some ideas afterwards of what we're doing on a daily basis to do so.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. And Caroline, while I've got you, do you have difficulty hiring people? Has it been a challenge?
Yeah. I think we've all been experiencing hard times recruiting
Yeah.
talents. And I think it's very important for the company to ask itself, how can I meet
Yeah.
the
How can I
expectations of
change?
the talents,
Yeah.
and what strategies do I have to implement in order to do so? Just
Yeah.
not keep saying they need to adapt to my company, but
Yeah.
you need to adapt to their expectations.
Yeah.
I think it's very
Yeah.
important.
I think that's an excellent point. Jens, please.
Hello,
Your turn.
everybody. Hi, delighted to be here. Jens Petersen. I work for Visumpoint, which is a German company. We do immigration relocation, consular services, legalization, posted worker, as everybody is doing in the EU at the moment. Been in the industry for 7 years. I'm the team lead for immigration and the head of Visumpoint Spain, which has recently been opened and founded.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Jens, do you have difficulty recruiting?
Well, at the moment, I wouldn't say so. We had a big expansion of our immigration team in 22.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of hiring, especially looking towards the opening of Visumpoint Spain in 23, and haven't needed to hire since.
Yeah. Okay.
So at the moment, I would say no. I do get approached by people through LinkedIn or through
Yeah.
other social medias, asking if we're hiring. So
Yeah.
we do have, should we ever start hiring again, and hopefully that's going to be the case sooner rather than later. We do have CVs on file, and
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
going.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good tip to, keep in touch even when you're not hiring.
Yes, and also I
Yeah.
mean, I explain the situation when I'm approached if we're currently hiring. Thank you for the interest, and I don't
Yeah.
just leave it unread in
Yeah.
my inbox, which I find terribly rude.
Yeah, understand. All right, Arvinder, sorry.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name's Arvinder. I manage Ellis Porter's UK office. I'm a US licensed lawyer, lived and worked in the US and Canada, and in 2019 moved back to London and launched our UK office. We predominantly in our UK office work with startups, so to mid-cap clients who are looking to expand into the US for the first time, but our offices in the US work with all types of corporate clients who are doing business in the US. I think now we just ticked over around 210 employees, which is crazy because I was employee number 8 when I started, and we've just gone through this huge expansion over the past probably 5 to 8 years, I'd say. But really, within the last 3 years, I think we've doubled our size. And we keep doing it. The basis of our growth is always, as long as we don't lose the culture, we'll continue to grow. And so culture is paramount to Ellis Porter. And as we continue to grow that, it really does control how quickly we grow and expand. It's not necessarily driven by the clients, but rather, can we continue to do what we do, deliver the great work we do, and have happy employees?
Yeah, it's so important. And you must have a particular challenge, I would say, if you're trying to hire, not only do they have to be lawyers, but actually US lawyers and in the UK as well. I mean, that's surely a pretty tiny talent pool.
It used to be. I think COVID changed everything, right? So, we as a firm, probably pre-2015, were very traditional in recruitment. It was all done through our Michigan office. After 2015, we started to adapt to having remote workers. And then COVID came, and that was the norm now. And so we will hire US lawyers based anywhere in the US or the world.
Anywhere, and use like remote or a PO or something like that. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Stefan, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Stéphane Compin, and I co-founded Lux Relo in Luxembourg, and we are doing immigration, relocation, move management, and also posted worker. Work mainly most of my career in big corporations, set up my own company 8 years ago. Of course, when you start your company and you start to grow, the problem is to find the right talent. And I read an interesting study that the way your company is going to go will be based on your 2 first employees.
Your 2 first?
Yeah.
God, and you think,
Yeah. So of course it's not always true, but it was interesting because basically the two first employees we hired are now our two managers,
Yeah.
immigration and relocation.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult, and I think it's not only in our industry. Maybe the difficulty we have, and especially in Luxembourg, is that it's the problem of salary, where we are competing with the financial sector,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of people that are from the financial sector and wishing to change their life.
Yeah.
But when they look at the salary we can offer in our sector, it's always a bit difficult.
Yeah. So it's about culture as well, is it not? It's
Yes,
about offering,
it's completely about culture. So this is really the core of our firm, and it's the first thing we ask, and the first
Yeah.
thing we check. It's how they would fit to the company culture, because the rest I think we can train, but if the person doesn't fit, then it can jeopardize the whole way
Yeah.
the team is working.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I have a sort of official, how do you find, I understand the theory about the culture. I also feel the same way. You know, I mean, we have I don't know if I can actually say this rule because it's a bit sweary, but we have a rule at Envoy which is don't hire, and then there's a word which I won't say because of it being a bit sweary, but don't hire nasty people, basically. It's just like that's the one main rule that we have. So I understand it, but how do you, that's one thing. How do you actually find the best people in the first place? Like how do you get them? How do they find you, I guess? And I'm going to go backwards. Stefan, how do you find them?
Well, what we're using a lot is word of mouth.
yeah.
Basically, we ask for referrals. So we ask our
yeah,
team.
yeah.
We ask our team, who do you think in your, when you were working at such and such a company, who do you think could be a good fit? And the second employee that we hired was basically our first employee saying, "Oh, I would love to work with that person, and she would fit perfectly the team."
Yeah.
And it has been a bit like that. What we also do is we make sure that when we do interviews, several team members, depending on, I mean, it doesn't need to be the top management, but other people that might work with them would interview them as well to have a feeling.
Yeah.
I think it's easier when the team is quite big, you have different departments.
Yeah.
But when you're in a small team, the person really need to fit within the team, as part of the team, and as part of the culture.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Avda, how about you guys? So you talked about the remote thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very similar, actually. So we rely very heavily on internal referrals. I think the Ellis Porter employees take our culture very seriously, and they're very protective of it. So if we are getting an internal referral for a case manager or an attorney position, we know that we're only going to be referred to that person if they really believe they're going to be a great fit. So that's half of the battle already won there. And then it comes down to, well, when we go through the interviews, is that person really who they say they are? We also go through multiple levels of interviews, not to be difficult or not to be try and compete with some of the larger firms. It's really because that first line of review is our HR team. Then normally the attorneys who will be working with that individual will interview them. And then, like Stefan, we also invite other members of the company to jump into interviews, and that could be the receptionist, it could be back office staff. Really, they don't even have to work in the team. That part of the interview process is all about culture. Do you think this person's going to be a bad apple? Do you think there's going to be some signs or flags that pop up during those interviews that we should be mindful of? And then obviously the managing partners will also always either one or both of them will jump on an interview to meet with the person. And then the other thing, we discussed it a little bit yesterday actually in the prep for this, but
we did loads of prep, by the way, not just yesterday.
We look at alternative industries for staff. So a lot of our employees, particularly the remote employees, come from a non-immigration background, or sometimes even a non-law firm background. They're publicists, we've got several school teachers who have changed careers, and as long as they've got transferable skills, they've been great fits. We've never had any issues.
Yeah, actually, Stefan, you were saying you're hiring people from hospitality industry, right?
The thing is that we've tried to hire people from our industry, but they have all their training and background, and sometimes they think that we thought that the experience was going to be better than we expected, but it didn't fit the company culture.
Yeah.
And therefore, we looked at the hospitality because we are in a service industry as well.
Yeah.
And I think that in our industry, what we do can be learned, and so we train them. But the attitude, the customer service, you don't.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And what I've seen is that people from the hospitality industry, they are really great because they are always going the extra mile. They know what customer service is. They are always, well-dressed, polite, which are small things that can make a difference.
Makes a huge difference. So we have another poll before the next question, which is about changing strategies. So I'm going to ask Caroline and Jens in a moment about a younger workforce. Personally, I have always relied on referrals. I have a list as long as my arm of people I want to hire, but I'm so old now that they are also all old and they all want to get paid an enormous amount of money. So I find it really hard to find the kind of new entrants. So anyway, the next poll is, have you had to change strategy in recent years? Oh my gosh. And it looks like almost everybody has changed. I would be so interested if anybody wants to share comments about that. But I'm going to ask Caroline first. But please, if anybody has got anything they want to say, do jump up and Joanna will find you. Yes, Maria has a question. It's going to take about 20 minutes for Joanna to make it through this huge run. So.
We have two candidates. One is an expert and can really help with the knowledge of the team.
Yeah.
But
So 2 candidates. One is an expert and can help with the knowledge, but is a horrible person, perhaps. I don't know.
this thing doesn't work. It works. And, okay, the other person, you understand, it's a very friendly person, but still has a lot to learn. What do you do? And you can only
Well, this
get
is literally my next question that I'm going to get to in like 30 seconds. It's an excellent question, and please let us get back to you in a moment or two. But thank you for your participation. So, Caroline.
If it's an experienced person, a
Yeah.
good candidate, and good behavior, then I would maybe definitely hire her or him. We mainly recruit on behavior, and we mainly recruit junior people. Because it's much more easy to find, actually.
Yeah.
And we train them from scratch. You can have more experienced person, but it depends on the level of expertise or experience. Sometimes we had the bad opportunity to recruit people who were supposed to be experienced, but they didn't have the level we were expecting, So we choose to recruit younger people because sometimes we recruit like 3, 4, 5 people at the same time. So we've been implementing some strategies to do so and to ease the process of recruiting that I can share with you.
Yes, please.
So we trained them from scratch. We have been creating partnerships with some schools in HR or global mobility or immigration.
That is amazing.
Or universities, which we go to and we meet them and we teach them our expertise.
Even before they work for you.
Yeah, even before. So there's students, we meet them, we teach them like a one-day posted worker workshop, for instance. And then they know us, and then we recruit them as trainees, for instance, for 6 months. And then if it's a good experience for them, and if we like them, and if they're good, we offer them a permanent contract. So that was one of the strategies.
A cool strategy.
Yeah, it took times. It took years to think about it, but it helps a lot.
Also, it helps the industry. Nihat does this. He's lecturing in immigration, and I think it's so good it's good to give back something to people, but also especially if you have like a bonus that then they can. But don't you find? So Jens, I was going to ask you. Don't you find that you're training them, and you put all your heart and soul into it, even before they work for you, and you're spending your time, which is extremely precious. If they then leave and go somewhere else?
Yeah, we don't train them before they come to us, I think.
No, we don't train them. That we just.
No, but
Even once they work for you and you train, because right?
Yes, and I'm
Microphone.
Possibly.
Oh, you got on.
Sorry. Sorry?
Nothing. As you are.
I have a bit of an unpopular opinion, maybe. Especially with younger people, I find it, and not trying to be prejudiced, but I find it they often will be in the stage of their career where they're sort of trying to build a CV.
Yeah.
And especially with the more popular, more brand names, they put in a year or two to then go on to other companies, which
Yeah.
is fair. It's a way of doing a career, and it's also not very easy for younger people. But on the other hand, I find if you hire older people, and I have a horse in that race, so I might be a little bit biased, then you possibly may expect more years out of them, possibly the rest of their working life, if
Yeah.
you're looking at somebody 50 plus.
Yeah.
If we're talking about hiring and retention, this goes a bit into both areas, so not focusing too much on hiring younger people. I mean,
Yeah.
it is an approach, sure, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying there is an alternative way of doing it, and possibly meeting somewhere in the middle is the ideal
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah. So it is exactly the question, really, that you had. Like, do you prioritize hiring young people with the right attitude and training them?
Well, older people can have the right attitude.
Older
so-
people can have the right attitude. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be rude about young people, but I find them flipping annoying quite a lot of the time. So let's go to our next poll, which is, would you prioritize, how do I make it happen? Do I press the button again? Would you prioritize expertise or attitude? And let's not, like, when you think of answering this question, don't answer it with kind of the extremes. Like, obviously, if someone's an utter tool, you're not going to hire them, right? So, but would you, if they were roughly even, would you go for the? And the answer is attitude mainly. So 79% of the people. Oh, it's going up. It's going up. Oh, so exciting.
Don't influence it.
It's so interesting. So I also, and I have found as well, so one of the, as you said, Arvinder, when you're growing your practice, you've got to keep the culture. One of the challenges that I have often found, perhaps because I've always worked in private equity funded companies, you can't choose who your clients are and you have to go after the big ones. And if you land the big one, then it's like, shit, now what? I've got to hire 20 people for this. So I'm just going to get people who know what they're doing because I don't have time to go and run a university course and like get them that way. But what do you guys think? I'm going to come back. Arvinder, what do you think about this experience versus attitude?
I think attitudes.
About 100%, right? Even though you're hiring lawyers and all of that, like,
Yeah.
they still have to be lawyers, right? Or
Yeah,
paralegals.
well, I mean, we turn down applicants because we think they're just going to come in and they're going to rub everyone the wrong way or be rude to any of our staff. It's not worth the hassle to have that experience. And
It messes everything up.
exactly,
Yeah.
like Stefan said, we can train the immigration laws. You know, and if you're coming in at an attorney level, the expectation is you can read and you can learn the regulations yourself. So really it comes down to attitude, culture, and your ability to be part of the team. And so that's, for us, paramount always.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I once hired somebody who I knew his attitude was bad, but I thought it was my fault that I had judged him in a bad way, and he turned out to be absolutely awful, made everything awful, and then was a very scary experience when I had to then fire him. So I wouldn't recommend going against it. You got to go with your instincts to a certain extent, right? I don't know, Stefan, what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you go with instincts and you make mistakes sometimes because some people are really good during interviews and you think, wow, you know, that's
You're
going to
great.
be a great star.
Yeah.
And then it happened to us after 1 month, we're like, wow, we did a mistake. It happens. I mean, for us, it's really attitude. Because the training, I mean, you said, yeah, we have a big contract and then we need 20 people. Then maybe it's the time to make a mix of young.
Yeah.
And because the problem, like you said, if you bring somebody that has a bad attitude, even with a great CV, great experience, then it's going to put the whole value of your team down.
Yeah.
Then you might have people resigning because
Yeah.
of, you know, the bad attitude within the team, and then it won't be beneficial.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us, we've been lucky to be growing slowly and steadily, but really it's all about training. So we've
Yeah.
put, even being a small firm, we've been putting training programs in place, whether for immigration, for the relocation, IT program,
Yeah.
and we spend time training people, even if we know that the first months, they are costing us money.
You're paying through the nose, yeah, but it's
But
worth
the
it,
thing
I
is
think.
that
Yeah.
when they hit the road, they are really efficient.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they know the business, they know how we work, they know the attitude they must have. And
Yeah.
basically, they are quickly going to pay for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, this goes. We're going to run out of time. So the next.
Can I just
Oh,
ask?
yes, please. Yeah.
Sorry. My name is Kaushik. I'm from Human Entrance in Sweden. A lot of Scandinavian immigration companies here. I've been working 18 years at Human Entrance as well. I know it's a dodgy name, but that's what we call.
Human Entrance is
Human
an excellent name,
Entrance,
and your
yeah.
logo is also
But
excellent.
we're immigration experts. We manage 4,000 permits per year. And I agree with what has been said, that, talent and hard work, there's always that trade-off. And personally, I think, and I have seen with experience, that hard work always wins in the long run. But I think the combination between experienced people who can guide these
Yeah.
hardworking people is also very important. We've been
Yeah.
very lucky to have few very experienced people who have been able to manage those. Because if you just take in those hardworking people,
And nobody teaches them.
that's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
take a longer. And customers and clients, they expect experienced people. No matter what we say, these are our most hardworking consultants.
They're very
They said,
nice
"But-
people."
But how long have they been working? Yeah, 6 months. Okay, so then the clients are not still satisfied. So I think the combination is very important. Then.
Also, you're completely right. Also, if they don't have the experience, even if they have the technical knowledge, I mean, actually, there's a difference between experience and technical ability as well. You can have an excellent lawyer or an excellent qualified consultant, but if they haven't got the experience, they can't kind of sniff out the things that are going to go wrong, And an experienced person will look at a case and know this client is going to be tricky to manage, or something's going to go wrong here, or this is a complicated one. So you have to have that supervision level. I think you're completely right. Thank you. So,
But just
Yeah.
to add on that, we were talking about younger generation. For me, it doesn't matter. We've been hiring young people,
Yeah.
older people, and it's just that we are not focusing on the experience.
yeah.
It's the right attitude,
It's the
fact
right
that,
combination. Yeah.
they have some knowledge that can help us.
Yeah.
And if they are willing to learn, if they're willing to evolve, it's what we offer them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially, I think, the flexibility and the independence in the work.
Yeah.
If we, and I think that it's not always true, but sometimes in big corporations, there's a lot of micromanagement.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
If you hire people, it's because you want them to, do their work.
You should
and
hire
trust
good
them.
people
Yeah.
and let them do their work, right? That's the secret.
And also, I think it's important that as you grow your team, the company culture shouldn't come from you. You were
Yeah.
giving an example that I forgot to say sorry.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
day.
so what happened was it was St. Patrick's Day and it was a holiday, and I kept thinking all day, because our Irish team were working because they're based in the UK, I kept thinking all day I must remember to say thank you to them for working on what should be their day off. And I forgot, all day I forgot. And then the next day I forgot. And then I thought, God, I'm becoming the person that I always didn't like, who's too busy talking about.
But then as the team
Yeah.
is growing, then, your managers should be the one,
Yeah,
that you've
doesn't have
trained
to be
with,
me,
that
yeah.
embedded the company
Yeah.
culture should transfer the same message and
Yeah.
do the thing that you are not able, because I think that
Yeah.
statistically you cannot manage more than 7 people.
I think it's 5. I think it's the number of fingers you have on your hand, personally, days in the week.
Yeah, I think it's company culture we were talking about earlier yesterday. Company culture is really key.
Yeah.
You have to define and create your own DNA with all
Yeah.
the core values, and you need to have the top management and body.
And they have to believe it
core.
and care about it.
Live
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
Live
be
it.
only paper.
Live it. It's not on paper. Yeah,
Okay.
you need
Yeah.
to
It's
embody
not the
these
big
values.
nice board at the
right.
entry of the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So embody these values and have the manager team doing the same, and then everybody's aligned in the company. It's like a deal, when you talk about the DNA, you say, okay, these are my core values. Do you agree and do you accept to come? And if you accept to come, it's just like
Yeah.
a deal,
Yeah.
And we have a very strong DNA in the company,
Yeah.
and we regularly refer to it when we have a situation or when we have a
Yeah.
decision to make, and we're like, okay, are we aligned with the DNA, yes or not? And we
Yeah.
try to, of course, be aligned, but
And you want to have something that is beyond you. I mean, I don't know, I cannot imagine France immigration without you, Caroline. But, but you do want to build a thing where if if you were to not be there, it would be fine, right? Like that's what you want. So anyway, we have another poll, which is about onboarding, because we're talking about, you hire your people. How do you make sure that they understand all of the things that you care about, that you want them to know about and become part of the culture? So the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know if it's going to show up very well because I think it's only showing 5. How great do you think your onboarding is, where 1 is rubbish and 10 is the most amazing onboarding new hire program in the universe? So it looks like we're coming out sort of 3, so 3 or 4. So sort of people are a bit worried about their onboarding programs, thinking not super confident about them. And I feel like onboarding might be the answer, right? Which of you guys feel strongly about onboarding? I think you do, Caroline.
I love this part.
Yeah.
Actually, the onboarding process is key, and we have implemented a very strong onboarding process. And it starts before the employee starts in the company, actually. What we do is that we send him or her a card signed by all the team saying, hey, we are so much looking forward to meeting you. And then the person feels deeply awaited by the company and by the team, and I think it's very important. And on day first, they meet all the team. We have breakfast all together. I mean, all together. We are basically on remote, but the people who are in the office, and everything is ready. The setup is ready. The desk is ready. There's a welcome note on the desk with confetti and a mug with the name. And the first week is ready. They know exactly who they'll be meeting, and everything is done. Like as professional. So I think it's very important because we all know that when someone arrives in a company, he or she immediately knows if she's going to be set to stay or not. So
I feel like the tiny things, like a bunch of flowers on somebody's desk or like a card or something. I don't know if I'm just old-fashioned and also tight-fisted that I don't want to. I don't think it has to be all about the salary, right? It can also be about being nice to somebody. But do you have any thoughts about this one? I've sort of gone totally off script now. I was supposed to ask people specific questions. I'm not doing it. But what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we don't go that far. That's a great idea. So to send the cards, I think that's important before you start. But in terms of from a training perspective, we always give as much overlap as possible. So right now on my team, we're looking to hire a case manager. We don't wait until that case manager's left and then bring the person on the next Monday.
Trying.
A 6 or 8 week overlap to make sure there's an opportunity for cross training. There's no cases are going to be left behind.
So
that person can have a nice experience as they exit the company. We've got somebody coming in that's not just going to get thrown into all of their cases. They've got a nice ramp up. We don't expect you to hit the ground running immediately, and so we try to build that experience within the firm that way. But in terms of other things we do to welcome the client, the new employees, we do similar things in the offices. If they're going to be physically present in an office, we'll normally go out for lunch or have breakfast or something that emanates around food or drink. If we can do drink, I'm always involved in that. But we try to make them as welcome as possible. And I think it's getting harder as the workforce is changing and we're now remote.
With the remote thing, it's quite tough because I used to put a bunch of flowers on their desk and I would take them out for lunch without fail, every single new person. And now I'm like, I don't. They get sent a welcome pack at Envoy, so that when on their first day they get like a water bottle and a little thing and that sort of stuff. But yeah,
for our remote employees, obviously we send them out all the technology, the laptops. We also, as part of our benefits, we pay for everyone's internet if they're working remotely and their cell phones if they're attorneys. So we make sure that's all set up. And normally the first couple of hours of their day, if they're remote, is scheduled meetings with our IT providers to make sure they're fully set up, HR to make sure they understand exactly what they need to do from a paperwork perspective, and then introductions to the team. Meetings.
It's important. So Stefan, what about you though? Because Luxembourg, all these financial institutions, etc., paying massive, giant salaries. How do you stop your excellent people that you've trained and worked so hard to find getting poached by those guys?
Well, I think that really it's when people, when I have friends at home for dinner and I talk about my business and they talk about their finance job or accountant and so on. And at the end of the dinner, they said, "Oh, my job is so boring." So basically, a lot of people approach us because they want to have more purpose in their
Yeah.
job. And so it's, yeah, of course, we are not going to compete with the financial sector, but we are offering flexibility. We are, I mean, we have a job with a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's what they really like, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the onboarding we were not really good at the beginning. Being a small company, we didn't do the thing properly. We are evolving with that. You were talking about remote onboarding. I think for me important, what I heard from some companies, even if the person will be working remotely, the first week the person would be coming to the office
And meet people.
and meet
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Especially for the company culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's difficult if you are working, I mean, we are human, and
Yeah.
you
I
have
think it's
some
very
downsides to the fact that full remote. And funny enough, so we offer the flexibility of working from home to
Yeah.
our team. None of them want to work from home.
No. Well, I think the younger people also don't want to. They want to.
And,
see each other.
I have a young
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
They, even if I decide to work from home,
Yeah.
they will be coming to the office.
Yeah. It's all
But
right
on
for
the other
us.
side, if
Yeah.
they have a child that is sick, they have, a plumber coming, I don't even ask, why they are staying at home.
Yeah.
But for me, more than remote, it's flexibility.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that, I love working remotely, but I'm the first person, as soon as I can, I go to the office to meet my team, because I
Yeah.
need this physical interaction,
Yeah.
having lunch with them, having a drink with them, and doing that via Zoom or Team doesn't fit me.
Yeah, I think flexibility, actually, just to pick up on that one, is a huge benefit that you can offer somebody, which is almost free, and you have to model it. I mean, well, I take the view that I have to model it by regularly taking my dog for a walk in the middle of the working day, for example. But you can't be slaving away and expecting people to. But one thing I find personally interesting and spend some time thinking about is how do you keep it as your company gets bigger? So, Arvinder, you were talking about you've got to keep the culture. But Jens, Visum Point is pretty big now. It's like 100 people or more. Yeah.
There are other companies who are way bigger. I don't think we fall
But
into that category yet. But if I may, I just wanted to go back to the poll because I was quite, I wouldn't say happy, but relieved,
Relieved,
to see a couple of low numbers there. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I would have rated myself at a 2.
Yeah.
Just out of the reason, like it wasn't on my radar, but in 2022, we expanded the team, we expanded it because we had a lot of work to do. We had a very high caseload. And it's really only thanks to the team members who helped each other out
Yes. Yeah.
that we have a good team spirit, a good working team.
Yeah.
And only afterwards, I and Ben, my colleague, we sort of realized we don't really have an onboarding process.
Yeah.
We don't really have it documented. There is no structure to it.
Yeah.
So we tried to rectify that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I can send you hours if you want.
Actually, could you just send it to everybody?
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have always said in my personal life, and I have passed this advice to anybody who's ever asked me, which is none of you, but I'm going to share it anyway, that there are 3 things that you look for in a job. And I think this was my rule when I was 20, and it's still my rule now. There are 3 things. One is that the people should be good people. The second is that the money should be adequate. And the third is that the job itself should be interesting and intellectually stimulating. And I feel like if you have 3 of them, then God has smiled on you, and you should just count your lucky stars every single night. If you have 2, it's okay. If the money's good and the people are nice, but the job's a bit boring, it's kind of okay. Or if the people are not that great, but the job's amazingly interesting and the money's brilliant, then you can sort of suck it up. But if you have 2, you should probably start looking for another job. If you have 1, you should just leave immediately, whether you've got another job or not. And the question is, how do we make those 3 factors exist for our people? And yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like the important thing about onboarding isn't to have the process necessarily.
And feedback.
And the feedback,
I think
right?
that we don't use feedback enough, and also we were not really good at that. And so now on a regular basis, we ask the people, how do they feel?
Yeah.
Is there any problem? Do they have too big workload, or
Yeah.
maybe our process is shit and we need to improve it.
Yeah.
You know, we need
Yeah.
feedback, and because you know we design most of what we have now, but you know I'm making mistakes like everybody else, and what was true 3 years ago might be completely wrong now.
Yeah.
And and for me, the fact that they're able to say, well, what you did is not great.
Yeah.
For me, it's fantastic. And I said I did these
Yeah.
things wrong. If they're able to tell me that I'm wrong.
Exactly. They have to tell you, and you have to have the time for them to tell you, and they have to have the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on the feedback. We regularly ask for feedback for new employees, like
Yep.
after the first week, and then after 3 months, and then after 6 months,
Yeah.
and regularly for the employees
That's so
in the
important.
company. And I think it's very important to be on a logical of continuous improvements. You
Yeah.
know, not stating that, okay, this is the way it is and it will never change, but taking feedback and improve your processes and improve what you say and improve what you do is very
Yeah.
important to go on learning and growing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we,
oh, go on.
To
Yeah.
out of, so we send out an announcement anytime there's a new employee through our internal social media. And normally, either the managing partners or some of the leadership team will, after a couple of days or a week, just call them just to see how it's going. I'd done that with a couple of people, and I would just cold call them on Teams. And I never thought anything about it until no one was answering my calls. I thought, what the hell's going on? And then someone sheepishly came to me and said, there's concerns that you keep calling these new hires a couple of days after they've come on and onboarded. They're petrified that they're getting fired because someone from the leadership team's calling them without telling them. So now I send them a message and say, hey, you got 2 minutes, I just want to check in and see how everything's going. So don't
So
do
were
that.
you just calling them?
I would
You were just on
cold
Teams,
call
like,
them.
boom,
Yeah,
call.
in the middle of the day.
Lordy Lord. You can't call people these days. There's,
I know. But people were like hiding under the desks and like, in their home in Nebraska. or
Oh,
something.
man. So feedback. So we actually have a poll about feedback, which is we wanted to ask everybody what type of feedback strategies do you have for your employees? Like, do you have a very formal process? Do you cold call people randomly and make them feel the fear, or what do you do? So how do I make I don't know why I still can't do this. Could you bring oh, there we go. So I can't even remember what questions we said. I think we said, do you have regular proactive requests? Or are you more like, we don't really have a whole process, but we do make the time to talk to people? Or do you just wait and see what happens and assume that you've hired good, intelligent people who'll tell you if they've got something to say? I tried to word the third one so it didn't sound too bad, but you're all avoiding it anyway. So this is really impressive, I think, that people have like regular. I mean, that's amazing because I've honestly never done that in previous companies. Here at Envoy, we do. We have a whole survey and we have a skip level thing where people speak to the person who, not the manager, but the next one down, so that people have a chance to speak to, people over there. Yeah, I think it's very impressive. Well done, everyone.
I think what is important as well, and normally when you you ask for feedback, it's quite formal. So
Yeah.
the employee is not always relaxed. The fact that you said, they think they don't answer because they are scared they're going to be fired. I do it over a drink or over lunch because then, it's less less formal.
Yeah.
And then, they relax and we can,
I think it's
a
better in
discussion.
some ways.
It's not
Yeah.
like an interview saying, okay, what's your feedback? And they, they are going to, here it's more about a feeling, how do they feel, do they like their work, or what things that we can improve, but it's informal, over a drink,
Yeah.
over coffee, over lunch.
Yeah. I used to live in Japan, and in Japan there is a sort of semi-formal system where you have I worked in a school, you would have a big end-of-term party, an Enkai, and the whole point of it, to some extent, was to be allowed, under the cover of drunkenness, to be able to say whatever you wanted to your bosses, and it's not rude because the next day you can pretend you can't remember it, or I was just drunk and I didn't really mean it, but you can get the thing said and they can listen to it without it being a disrespectful moment where you have formally brought it. I think it's a pretty good system.
Sounds
honestly.
like our Thursday nights.
Yeah, Thursday night, exactly. Like, bring it on. Yeah, Caroline looked like you were about to say something about no? So listen, we have 5 minutes left. I don't want to go over time and ruin everything. My next question for you have approximately 1.2 minutes per person, is what next? I would like you to please explain what is going to happen in the world of talent acquisition and retention in the immigration industry, specifically in an environment where AI is going to take over all of our jobs and that type of stuff. And Jens, I'm going to start with you.
No, I'm
Just
just,
to-
whenever I hear the words AI, I
You vomit.
internally. No, I think it's overblown. I don't think it's massively going to change the way we do work. I think it's going to help as far as form filling goes. And that's
Yeah.
a wonderful help, and I'm happy to have it. But as far as doing immigration processes through chatbots, I mean, we all know whenever we call a company and there's a voice robot answering,
Yeah.
you say operator, operator. You don't interact with
Yeah.
it. Even for little things like paying your electricity bill, you don't.
Yeah.
You want to have a person
Yeah.
to talk to. Yeah, that's just.
So you still got to hire, still got to keep
initial
the best
reaction. I
people. Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah. No, completely. I agree. Arvinder, what do you think? What's the future?
Potentially quite scary. I think the newcomers to the workforce seem to get more and more demanding. So I think in a couple of years,
They
they're
are
going to be
demanding.
demanding exactly what salary they want, how little hours they want to work. But I agree with Jens from an AI perspective, not overly concerned. Ultimately, everything we do is for client experience, and the client experience can't be had with a computer. There may be some aspects of the job that you can use
Yeah.
AI for, and it's useful to be able to collate documents, put all that information into your case management software and do some light drafting, but that experience where the employer is talking to, the client's talking to us and
Yeah.
our team, and they're getting that guidance and advice, that's not going to change.
Yeah, yeah. So same old, but annoying younger people have to be more accommodating to them, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Stefan?
I think that the younger generation wants a work with a purpose. So
They
if,
do,
if a company
yeah.
doesn't offer them a work with a purpose and flexibility, this is going to be a problem for mainly the big corporation.
Yeah.
So I think really the future is about, providing a job with a purpose.
Yeah.
Understand what the company is doing, communicating more about what the company is doing.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I'm more positive than a lot of people. I think that our grandparents were saying that the future generation was crap, and then when I talk to the friends of my sons and to my children, I mean, I'm positive.
I find them amazingly impressive,
I mean,
actually.
and the fact that I mean, we were not able to really have a discussion with our parents.
Yeah.
The way they see the world,
The way
and
they
the
talk to
way
us,
they
yeah.
want to change it, and the way they want to have a purpose, I think it's fantastic.
Wow, that's very positive. Caroline, last word.
Yes, I think young generation like innovation, so they will like companies taking innovation into account. And we work for clients, so client relationship is key. We can outsource or
Yeah.
automate some tasks with less added value,
Yeah.
of course. So this is the course of the future, I guess.
Yeah.
But human in our jobs, human is so important. So we need to keep this human touch with our clients.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. So in summary, I think the things we talked about were talent acquisition-wise, we talked about training we talked about attitude being predominantly much more important than experience, although experience also being necessary because you can't just hire a bunch of nice people and set them loose. We talked about having a good onboarding, I would say a good onboarding system, not necessarily a written or formal process, but a good onboarding experience for the employees. We talked about the importance of culture and not letting kind of panic and workload and desperately trying to get the right people in the door mess up your culture and poison the barrel, as it were. We talked about flexibility and we talked about purpose, a sense of purpose. And I feel like if we do those things, everything will be fine. We'll all be fine. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much for listening. A question. Oh, sorry. There's a question.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Oscar Santos. I'm from Mexico.
Hola.
I just want to share one story that happened to us that comes very close with the talent demand. We were invited by the U.S. Embassy in Mexico to an event for refugees. And normally when we do corporate immigration, we just refuse to do anything related to refugees because it doesn't bring us money, right? But this event was very surprising for us. We had the opportunity to meet Hamdi Holuya. I don't know if you know them, but he's the founder of Chobani, this yogurt multinational company. He's a refugee based in Turkish refugee based in the U.S. So what he is doing, he create Tent. This is the organization. It's a global organization. And what they do is help refugees all around the world to find jobs.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so we started, identifying that Tent Mexico did not have the technical knowledge of explaining companies how to hire refugees. So we decided to do this as a pro bono, like our corporate responsibility. And we start doing very close relationship with them. And then hopefully that brings us a lot of clients, which was not related to refugees at all. It was because they have a big multinational companies looking to hire refugees. Mexico, as you may know, we have a lot of immigrants going through the States. But now these days, there's a lot of people willing to stay in Mexico and work in Mexico. So what we did is this, and we hire actually a refugee in our firm. And when we went to this RFP and we were asked about what we are doing in terms of diversity and inclusion, when we come back and say we are doing this with Tent, we hire a refugee, we blast the competitors because nobody was doing nothing like this. So it's kind of like walk the talk. If we are doing corporate immigration or we're doing immigration, maybe hiring a refugee, it's also a good way to just send the message that we are doing the same.
Actually, you know what? We have a non-profit as part of Envoy called the Rise Foundation, which we give money to and we give time to allow our lawyers and our paralegals and our experts to do exactly the same, to help with that type of application where people can't afford to pay the fees. And the main reason we do it is because firstly, we think it's important, but also because it's important for our team to feel like, well, as you said, to have the purpose, to feel like they're giving something back, So yeah, that was a really good point, Oscar. Thank you. I think we've run out of time, probably. So thank you again, everybody.